Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Solo Female Travel Podcast. Today I am very excited because I got the honor to have met online Callie Gorman. She is the founder of the Lone Travel Girl, and she's just going to tell us like everything about it because I don't think I can make justice explaining what you do because I think it's so cool.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's been, first of all, so nice chatting with you just for a few minutes before this, and I love your enthusiasm. This is the first podcast I was asked to come on, so I'm super excited about it. So, yes, I can give you a little intro on what the Lone Travel Girl is all about. So, we create solo travel inspired apparel for women. We are now a community of solo female travelers from all over the world, over 5,000 of us. And just recently, I'm dipping my toes into the water now with helping solo female travelers who are also solopreneurs, so who also own their own businesses, in learning how to increase their following on Instagram, learning how to improve their business, kind of level up. So I'm like testing the waters there. I'm trying to figure out, but yeah, that's a little bit about the Lone Travel Girl.
That's amazing. As I told you, I was checking out your website and your Instagram. It's like your content is so good, and it's like I felt that you were speaking to me because I am a solo female traveler and also a solopreneur. So it's like, oh my God, she knows me so well.
That makes me so happy. Yes, I try to get into, women like you, I try to get into your head and say exactly what you're thinking.
Well, you're doing a great job. That's where I was like, I
Thank you.
want to interview her. She has to be on the podcast.
Oh, thank
And I'm
you.
pretty sure this will be the first of many interviews you will have in the future.
I hope so.
So, like, tell us more, like, about how did you solo female traveling journey start?
Yeah, so I, from my teenage years, I definitely felt inspired by travel. I had that travel bug. The world was always just like, it was so interesting to me and so exciting to me thinking about traveling the world. But I didn't solo travel actually until I was 27 years old, which was 3 years ago. So it was a little later than, most of the women I meet now. They did it right out of like university or whatever it is. So I had been working in New York City for about 5 years in a corporate marketing job. you know,
Mm.
2 weeks of vacation, I would take advantage of it, but I would always travel with a friend somewhere or with family. And I got to that 5 year mark at the job, and I was so incredibly unhappy that, it's interesting. There is a woman, her name is Kristen Addis, and her Instagram handle now is Be My Travel Muse, I'm pretty sure. And I came across an article about her in 2017, and it was her story of how she quit her high paying job in California and bought a one-way ticket to Southeast Asia and had been solo traveling ever since. And I remember reading that story and just feeling like a weight being lifted from me and thinking, oh my gosh, I can get out of this situation in my job. I can take a break. I have some money saved up and I could do that too. So it was almost like I never knew that solo traveling was a thing until I read her story. And within 4 months, I had left my job and I had taken a one-way ticket to Copenhagen. And that's where I started.
Wow. Okay. That story is great. I mean, it's like like you you took action. It's like, okay, I don't like my current situation. I read this and then like I got inspired and took action and then you went to Denmark. That's
Yes, yes.
that's amazing.
It was a fantastic feeling doing that. It felt a little bit like I was escaping because I just really wanted out of that job. But the experience that I actually had once I was there, I ended up traveling for almost 4 months throughout Europe mostly. And then I ended in East Asia, in Hong Kong and then Japan. And oh my gosh, it was just the most amazing thing. Yeah, which I'll tell you, I'm sure later. just about that experience just really changed my life. Sounds corny, but it's true.
It has happened for all of us. I guess like
Yeah.
we become obsessed with it after we do our first solo travel. We're like,
Yeah.
I can do this and that. Like I am invincible. I am like, I mean, so empowering, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
That's okay.
It is.
And so, um, so I just wanted to ask you this because I saw a post on your Instagram about it, and I want you to share your opinion. That is like, what do you think is important that we talk about solo female travel?
Yes, that's a great question. So, and I know which post you're talking about. And what I was trying to explain in that post was, sometimes, truthfully, I have received messages from men, solo travelers who are men saying, oh, why are you only talking about females? And I actually recently was I was in a hostel room with this guy, and I told him about the lone travel girl, and he said, oh, so it's only for women, it's not for men. So I thought, okay, let me explain myself a little bit. One of the things as I started growing this community over the year, and I started hearing stories from women from all over the world, why they started solo traveling, so many of their stories sounded the same. And it was something along the lines of, I was always told that I had to work a 9-to-5 job. I had to make money, and then I had to get married, and then I should really have kids, and, I should stay home with the kids, or, have kids, and I should work my 9-to-5 job still. And like, women are so often just, we're always being told, like, this is what you should be doing. And so with solo travel, I just have found that, and you and I were just talking a little bit about this before we started the recording, that we are kind of the only people in our circles, our family and friends, who do solo travel. It's kind of like we've taken a step out of this box that society tries to, box us into a little bit. And that was really one of the big reasons why I wanted to focus on solo female travelers, because I just have seen this confidence boost within women after they solo travel, where they'll tell me, I took that first solo trip and I realized, I didn't want to marry that guy, or I didn't really want to have kids. I want to start my own business, and I don't want to just stay in my job. And it just, to me, was always a story that women were talking about. And obviously I am one, so I feel a little bit more connected, also just like talking to female travelers. But that's really the big reason why we talk about solo female travel. Also, I will add something else. We talk a lot about safety and solo traveling, which sucks. The truth is that as a woman out there traveling the world, you are more in danger than your male counterparts who are traveling too. And so that's another reason why I felt very passionate about just talking about women in the context of solo traveling.
That's so true. It's like, yeah, we still have some disadvantages when it comes to traveling and safety. And I get that I get asked a lot, like, hey, like, how do you just stay safe? And it's like, I mean, it's not impossible, but yeah, you need to, follow certain guidelines, and like, being alone at night, for example, walking at night, like, it's a big no. And like,
and no, I agree with you. It's definitely, like, I use it as a scare tactic or anything. I really have never felt unsafe traveling alone anywhere. I was very lucky. I didn't have any, I don't have any horror stories or anything like that. A part of it is like the education piece, where I want to make sure that women who haven't solo traveled, that I can say, okay, well, here are the things that you might not have thought of, that just keep in mind, because it'll give you peace of mind. Or, hey, here's what you can tell your best friends or your parents, or whoever it is, for their peace of mind. And the safety thing, I think, is just kind of also wrapped up in community, where it's nice talking with other female travelers about it, because it's just like, okay, we're all in this together. We all get it.
I know. Yeah. So like talking about a community, you created this community of over 5,000 other female travelers that is called the Solo Travel Corner. So how do you how did you come up with that idea that okay, I want this community, and then you actually did it, and like you're connecting people, because that's not easy to do. Like you're like, yeah, I can
Yeah.
have an idea. I mean, sometimes it's even hard to get 5 people together to come to your birthday, and then you like created this community of around 1,000 people.
So true. Well, okay, first of all, so I have over 5,000 people with me on Instagram. I do not have that many people in Solo Travel Corner. And
Oh,
I didn't explain this too explicitly with you yet. So I only very recently launched this private virtual meetup community called Solo Travel Corner. And the reason for that is because in a lot of my conversations with women on Instagram, because Instagram is great, and I call it a community, it's not really a community, right? Because it's not like women don't, unless it's in the comment section of a post of mine, it's not like they really have an opportunity to get to know one another. And I thought, I thought it was important to make a space where that could happen. And I am a part of many Facebook groups that are fantastic, and it's great hearing other people's stories. But like conversations like this is what I want to do, right? This is where you
yeah,
make the connections. You and I now, from this point moving on, like we'll always have each other's back. Well, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
this kind of like virtual setting was really important. And the premise of Solo Travel Corner is it's a virtual meetup community. So we have a ton of different meetups that happen every month, but to name a few, like we have some that are educational in nature. So recently we had a woman come on and she did a workshop on how to best edit your travel photos. We've had some on how to travel sustainably. And then we also just have 2 discussions every week that are open forum, where you're in a Zoom call like this. I bring a travel topic or question to the table and we just chat. And so it's to get more intimately connected with other solo female travelers, because most of us don't have other, friends who you can just call up and have a phone call like this,
yeah,
about travel. So that's
yeah.
why I started the group. We only have 30 members right now, but we just started. It's good. And you know what? It's just so fun meeting
Uh-huh.
different people because it's women from all over the world. We just had our first member join from South Korea, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. So I hope to, I'm not sure what it will look like a year from now, because I'm trying to figure out like how do I best serve these women.
Mhm.
We do have a solo travel book club in there as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
a lot of fun stuff, but since it launched, yeah, still testing a lot of different types of meetups and figuring out what works best. But yeah, that's a little bit about Solo Travel Corner.
That's that's amazing. No,
Thank you.
seriously, you're doing great things for our community, and as I was telling you before, is sometimes it's hard to find people that you share your common interests with, and like that
Yeah.
you understand each other's I forgot the word in English, difficulties.
Yeah,
And
your struggles,
your
yeah.
struggles, yeah,
Hmm.
because as I was telling Callie at the beginning, it's like, for example, in my family, I am the black sheep, because it's like I am the only one that travels alone. I'm almost 30, I haven't married, and I haven't gone through university. So it's like, when you get to meet other people that kind of like have the same interests, and is like, and wants the same for the future, and maybe have the similar experience of, maybe they haven't gone through university either, or they want just to feel that empowerment from solo traveling. It's like, oh my god, such a relief.
Yeah.
So I mean, that you're already doing a great service to our community, to be
Thank
honest.
you. Thank you so much.
And then like I just need to ask, like, when you were saying like at the beginning, like, oh well, maybe we can talk about later in the interview about those feelings you had when you were having your first solo trip, that you were like, what do you think that was like a before and after in Callie's life
Yeah.
because of that trip?
So before we press play on the record, I told you that solo travel is really what led me ultimately to solopreneurship. And I didn't even realize that was happening on my trip. So some of the things I went through, first of all, I'm a pretty anxious person by nature, but especially in that previous job that I was in, I didn't sleep at night. I dreaded every day. It was just one of those classic stories of just hating your job. And being on the suddenly I was sleeping okay. And, in these rooms with 30 other people in bunk beds, right? And I just, like I said, there was just this weight that had been lifted, and I didn't go through as much of a transformation where it was like, I didn't think I could solo travel and then I did it. I always had that confidence. Like I never questioned that I would be able to do that. But what it really made me think about was like, okay, I'm so much happier. Obviously, I wasn't working, so I knew I needed a job. It wasn't like I could just coast through life and travel for the rest of my life without a job, right? But I still thought a lot about how I was sleeping okay, not on this job. And it was just so nice being in control of every single decision that I made on that trip, that like the more I thought about it over the year after I returned, I was eventually like, oh my gosh, I just really like relying on myself and not having to work on someone else's schedule. I don't want to be told, here are your vacation weeks, but also like here's the idea you have to work for. I'm definitely not one of those people who is like a born entrepreneur where I was, doing my lemonade stand at 6 years old, and like just all these stories that you hear sometimes from these women who build their own businesses. That was not me. So it took me a long time to realize like almost like the freedom that I had when I was solo traveling. I needed to implement that freedom in my personal life, and also take that, because I loved talking about my solo travels and everything, because all I could ever think about was travel. I knew that was the industry that I had to be in. And so it kind of all just came together, and it definitely came together long after that solo trip, but that is what laid the foundation for sure for, obviously the lone travel girl now.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, those were some like really cool realizations in that trip. I mean, I guess like just like that sense of empowerment and not following anyone else's rules, or like just doing what you want when you want it, and like not having to give any explanations to anyone. And
right. And that's why, and obviously, that's not everyone's experience, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Some people, they like, they were really nervous. They've never done anything independently before, and they went and did it and realized they could do all these other things in life. That's why it's still very important to me that while I am kind of focusing now on solo female travelers who also own their own businesses, it's really important to me to keep that other part of the lone travel girl where it's just like in celebration of all types of solo female travelers and their stories, because I know that isn't everyone's story, right? It's not like every woman goes and then is like, oh, I'm gonna start my own business. So that was my experience, but there are lots of other special stories and experiences as well.
Yeah. Okay, so we're like almost like running out of time, and I want to ask, I know I didn't tell you about this question before, but I just
oh no
it's like okay. So just like, what do you think are like 3 advices that you can give to women that are like, trying to, are solopreneurs and want to be solopreneurs, or like want to start that journey, or yeah.
So who want to start their own business journey or who want to solo travel?
Their business journeys.
Their business journey. So I would say if you want to start and you have an idea, number one is just start. It took me a long time to realize that like no one starts when they're ready. It sounds so cliche and I almost hate saying that. And I wish there was a better way to say it, but it is so true. Everything that I've done, whether it was, putting out some new apparel designs that ended up totally doing horribly, like you just have to take the first step and just do it, which I'm sure, by starting a podcast, right? It's not an easy thing. You just have to do it. You do it messy. And it's how everyone starts. So that's number one, just do it. I would say number two is you have to really just be committed to showing up consistently. It's really easy to like have that kind of imposter syndrome. I have it every single day where you're just like, what am I talking about? I'm not an expert. What do these people think of me on social media? Or this email is stupid. But it's not. Like, that's just your mind telling you that. And I would just say, like, just show up consistently and commit to that is number two. And then number three, and this is also something that's very new to me, is if you're not like this already, put in time to teach yourself and really learn how to meditate, how to visualize the future, and how to like effectively set goals. I think one of my biggest struggles in the beginning, and it's always hard in the beginning, right? Like so much has changed for me just in 1 year. It's really hard to figure out like what the future looks like. But if you can put pen to paper and write your goals and meditate on them in the morning, and I'm not a great meditator, like I'm not good at it at all, but I will force myself to sit in silence every morning and to visualize the future and those goals coming to fruition, and it has helped me immensely. So those are my three things.
Those were amazing. I mean, and it's all related to travel as well. It's like, for example, if you want to travel and if you haven't yet, it's like you need just, to take the decision and then do it, like buy the plane ticket. I mean, be consistent. You need to show up at the airport,
Yeah, that is so true. It's like you just got to press purchase. Okay, I'm going.
And then and then also I meditate. I meditate every day, and also I'm using the visualizations and goal settings and writing down. So it's like that. I mean, that is great because it's like you need to get your mindset right before starting anything.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, and even traveling, it's like sometimes especially right now that we cannot really travel, I believe that it's so important to visualize what you want, like when you travel, where you want to be, maybe set the intention for that travel, like, oh, I want to discover this and that about myself. So I feel that's what I ask about business, because it's like I kind of see like how everything is related and how we are solopreneurs become solopreneurs.
It is. I'm so glad you're on board with the solo female traveler solopreneur thing. Makes me so happy.
No, great. No, yeah. I mean, and about the imposter syndrome. Like, actually, this morning I was like, oh, I'm going to interview this really cool girl. I don't know. Like, is it going to be good? Like, I don't know. Like,
oh my gosh,
I don't feel worthy of this interview.
And from my perspective, I'm looking at you thinking like, oh my gosh, look at her. She started her own podcast. That seems like so stressful to me, and I wouldn't be able to do that. And I have the honor of like speaking on this. So we're all thinking the same thing about other people. And the other thing too, that I see everywhere now, all over Instagram and lots of different like mindset posts and everything like that. And it's so true though. It's never compare your journey to someone else's I would say in business, but also in travel too, because you know how on social media, you can really make your travels look like a walk in the park and just like the most amazing thing ever. and it's not always
Yeah.
the case. But the same thing with business, like we're all starting from different places. We all have different skills, and yeah, just it's not good to play the comparison game. It will never help you.
Yeah, you don't really know what someone is going through. I
Yeah.
mean, even though on the outside or like on Instagram might look great, but then it's like, for it, I mean, on Instagram, it's like you cannot really tell. It's like there are so many ways you can edit a picture, and make it look great.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yep.
so yeah. Well, Callie, thank you so much. Like this was amazing, and I know, like what, as I said, what you're doing out there for our community is it's really cool. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. This is awesome. My first podcast. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Yay!